can be happy and sad at the same time, and often are. And I think that's the fullest human experience, really, is if you can be in both of those places at once.
And it's okay, both can exist.
Yeah. If someone were to ask me right now, are you sad? If I said yes, that would be honest. If they were to say, are you happy? I would say yes, and that would be honest. My focus can shift back and forth as necessary. I could just play one chord and it says all that for me. Hi, my name is David Baer, and I'm here to talk about my experience losing someone I love to suicide and about my own struggles with mental health.
When you first got together and started dating, did you know that she struggled with mental health?
When we first got together, I did, but not to the full extent not the full extent that she struggled. We had very similar youth and teen experiences. So, and a big part of that for both of us was struggles with suicidal ideation, with feelings of not fitting in. We talked about those a lot. So I was aware of her history, but I wasn't immediately aware of how it was affecting her in the present tense.
When did you become aware of her struggle?
There's sort of a chicken and the egg thing, because related to her mental health struggles, she struggled with addiction too. I found out about her ongoing struggles with addiction first. If she's struggling with using, that to me that just meant she's struggling with mental health too. So kind of at the same time, I would suppose. She always made it seem like if she would hurt someone else before she'd hurt herself. So at the time, no.
The anger was the forefront.
Yeah, exactly. It was rare, at least about her own inner workings, that she would express sadness. She would express sadness for other people if they were struggling, but for herself, it would come out as she was pissed off at the world.
David and Alma met in New Orleans in 2008 and were married 1 year later. After a series of crimes in their neighborhood, Alma became concerned about safety and self-defense.
We lived in a pretty dangerous neighborhood. She wanted to get a gun. I was very much against it. And what we essentially agreed upon was, I don't want to see it. It should always be locked up, put away. So she had a gun, and that was that.
One day in 2011, Alma didn't return home at the usual time, and David's phone calls went straight to her voicemail. David was worried and walked to Alma's art studio to check on her.
My first thought was she had relapsed and OD'd. And that's when I put together, oh, well, there's a gun out. She's on the floor. She must have shot herself. And that's what happened. She shot herself. After she died, it reframed my idea of myself in a way too, because I've always thought of myself as a very perceptive person, very tuned in. And, to find out you were missing something so major in the person you're closest to, that definitely messes with your identity. That is probably also something I think I probably still am coming to terms with. What I absorbed myself in was either building my career, or when I wasn't doing that, drinking. I was terrified of this becoming the defining event of my life, because at that time, and in many ways it did become that, but at the time I couldn't see a way that could be the case and it be a positive thing. I don't want to become a tragedy case, and so I did everything I could to be defined by anything else, good or bad, and that on top of just also not having a plan, not really putting in any effort to make one. That first year I didn't even see therapy. I did nothing that I was supposed to do,
What was healthy coping like?
Talk therapy is a big one. Having a relationship with her spirit, that was a big part of it. And what I mean by that Isn't that I'm, talking to a ghost per se, but integrating who she was to me into myself, into my identity now. Making her memory about our times together and the bond that we had, and not as much about the way her life ended. Meditation, but that took a while. That didn't come right away, and that has become probably the dominant one that's still in my life. Still is a major coping mechanism. Also, creative expression, which is something that has always been a coping mechanism for me. The memory I've had the hardest time alchemizing in any way has been the memory of calling her mom, having to tell her what happened.
You told her parents.
Yeah. That's something that I don't know how to make. I don't know how to make that memory a positive one, or at least one that has something I can take from it that's positive. It's very difficult.
That sounds incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Especially on the cusp of you finding out yourself.
Yeah, immediately. Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest part.
What would you have wanted her to know that you don't think she knew at that time?
I'd want her to know that she was deserving of the love that she had, and that anyone who truly loved her, there was not enough relapses in the world to make anyone rather not have her around than have her around. One thing I've noticed is it's not that people who take their lives think that they're not loved. It's often that they think that in some way they don't deserve that love that they have, that they somehow have earned that love fraudulently, that if anyone knew the truth about them, they wouldn't love them anymore. So it's not a matter of going back and telling her I love her, because I know she knew that. I would just want her to know that love was not ignorant of who she really was. It was because of who she really was.